Gosh, we're already in the third quarter of the year, right? So third quarter P card webinar and mostly discussion. So as a reminder, I'm Kaitlyn Peters with WASBO. I am your Wisconsin rep for all things P card, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. Holly, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Holly Wallace. I work for Illinois ASBO, and I have managed the P card program for over 20 years. So I am your main person and your main resource for anything having to do with P card, from I don't have one and I want one to I've been on the program a long time and I have questions, or I have new staff that needs to be trained, or I just want to do things differently. That's me. I can help you. And if I can't help you, I have a team at BMO that can also help, that's dedicated to our program. So I welcome any and all questions. And that's usually how we start it. Just as really an open forum to talk about things, ask questions. And sometimes it's best to hear from your peers too.
And I will just put out there, so this year we have a new person that gets our audited financials that is updated on wasbo.com/pcard. So make sure as you're getting those back from your auditors that they are being sent to the correct address. It is, I think, just a different floor in the same building.
Yeah. And if for some reason they need it, they'll come to you too, or they'll come to me and ask me to come to you for it. So usually it's not a big issue nowadays, unless you want a corporate increase, which you have to go through the bank for, or through me.
Oh, Don,
Oh,
I just popped something in the chat. Let's grab that. Um, can Holly and the WASBO P card contact info? Uh, Chris, can you clarify that question a little
Yeah, I'm an idiot and I hit send too fast. So
bit?
that's good, that you have somebody on the call who's, can't finish a sentence. Yeah, just share your contact information. Sorry. There was supposed to be a share button in there. There's a
All
shared
good.
word in there. Can you share your contact?
Yes.
so Kaitlyn, you guys are at wasbo.org, aren't you?
WASBO.com.
WASBO. Well, I'm H. Wallace at iasbo.org.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I put it into the chat too. And
Yeah.
if you forget that or you need it, you can always go to the WASBO page and look for the P card link, or email anybody at WASBO and they'll know who I am.
All right. Got it.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll keep working on Quick Brown Fox. I'll
Yeah,
work on that. So.
no worries. Anything else anybody has? Let's start this off. Sorry about that.
Oh, hi, puppy. Um,
There are
um,
people outside painting, and she's very curious. She
how
wants to
dare
go out and
they?
play with everybody.
Um, I know, did everybody come out of the Skyward outage okay? Does anybody need anything with the Skyward extract to get things back to homeostasis? If not, it's okay. That's good.
I I have a question, or I guess a thing to ask about.
Yeah.
So I work for CISA. I'm at a school district, and we're looking at switching to the P cards. We were hoping to this summer, but summer happened, too much other stuff to do. I guess to start looking at like the program info, is there somewhere certain to go for that info, or where can I get all of that for the district and the board to look at?
Yeah, you can go to wasbo.com/pcard or illinois-pcard.com. Both of those have all of the basic info as well as the checklist of what documentation you need, including a sample board resolution, application documents, and what audited financials you need to include in your application. If you have any questions along the way, I'm always available to answer those as well as Holly.
Perfect.
It's pretty easy peasy, pretty black and white. There's not a lot. I mean, there's a lot of bells and whistles, but there's not a lot of hoops to jump through. It's
Okay.
just the board resolution, the agreement, and 3 years of audited financials. Because everything's based on your audited financials, not anyone's social security number.
Correct.
Yeah, and that'll be the nice thing to move away from credit cards with
Yes.
everybody's socials.
Oh, yes. And just kind of to build on that, what's different about a P card than a card that you would get or your personal credit card is that it is based on a corporation. So think of your school district as the parent and then all your cards as children. And you'll manage all of your children separately and individually through one login on the bank. So you'll see everything about your corporation, and then you can change credit limits, order cards, and all of that stuff. Change, make them higher, make them lower in real time, all of that stuff. So it's a little bit differently than if you had a credit card that all had the same access to the same corporate limit. Wow, got a quiet group today.
All right, this is Chris Trotter from Silver Lake Joint 1 School District.
Sure.
So I have our district accountant Sue on the line. So we're just adopting. I used P cards for the last 20 years in 2 previous districts. I'm now the district administrator / business manager, and we're launching them with more. We're expanding them with more staff. So one of the things that we're working on right now is getting Skyward set up to basically create the groups for the account numbers. Does anybody who's a Skyward user have any like recommendations as somebody who's starting off on what worked well, what didn't work well? I know it's a very broad question, but any recommendations like first steps besides getting the credit card up and running?
So I will tell you there's some steps you need to take in the back end also with me before you can get going. First of all, Chris, if you would shoot me an email with your tagline on the bottom, I'll check to make sure that Skyward is turned on in your back end, because that does take a while to program if it's not. And then once that is up and running, before you do your first extract, you're going to have to request a card identifier file from me. And that's something that you'll load up into Skyward so that when you do the extract and import, that the transactions match the cards.
I think we've done that because I'm now getting notices that I have a credit card requisition to process.
Okay, great.
And when you say groups, are you like grouping by department, or are you just looking for what others have done?
Yeah, so I know we have to, I don't have the official Skyward term in front of me, but like account groups, you have to, both in POs and P cards, we have to go in and set up our groups or either by teacher or building and grounds, and then we have to assign the specific accounts to them. So we have to do that next, and I wasn't sure is that the correct next step to do, so then they can process their P card correctly, because if they process a P card and they don't have access to the accounts, well then they can't unfortunately process the P card.
Correct. And I believe that you can give them access to all accounts, or you can get it down to a smaller group. Most people that are doing it at a high level like to limit it so that they have less numbers to have to choose from, and it's not as huge and cumbersome to them. So that's basically what you're doing, is you're just kind of giving them a group. So just to keep in the back of your head, there could be a time, and it could be never happens, but it could happen once or twice, where you might have somebody who can't access their code just because they might be out of their area at one time. So that's what that is in Skyward. But a lot of school districts do that.
The other question I have is how do most districts handle, in my previous district, if you did not take advantage of the tax-exempt status, I was basically tarred and feathered by the district accountant and business manager. How do districts handle purchasers not using the tax-exempt and actually having tax on a purchase? I'll get off and listen to people's response.
Does anybody from one of our districts that's on the line want to jump in with what you are personally doing for tax exempt?
We got a quiet group today. I'll tell you, Chris, what most districts do is make really strong policy, and then they're really strict about following it. And the strongest policy you can say is, if you don't follow the policy and get tax exempt, then you can't use the card. You can pay for yourself and ask for reimbursement, or you can put in a PO and we'll do the purchasing for you when we get to it. But that usually works the best. But I would suggest having really strong policy that does speak to that. And then all your end users should then be signing off on that policy, saying that they read and they understood the above P card policy of the district, and they will adhere to it. So even if they don't read it, you can say, but you did read it and you said you understood it. So there can't be a question of, well, I didn't know.
Oh, you beat me to it. I was just going to ask for some sample policy. So perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Those are really
Yeah, I mean,
helpful. And those districts that are listed there have some really well-written policies that have worked for a long time. So some great starting points for you there.
Yep. And if it's an ongoing problem, what I would suggest also is tracking it. So I always say that the best thing, the number one thing you need to have is a missing receipt form. So when receipt is not returned, they are required to fill out a missing receipt form that is signed by them and signed by their supervisor. This allows you to track those people who might habitually not return receipts. Because these days, if you don't get a receipt, you don't have a receipt, or you don't pursue getting a replacement receipt, there's something fishy there, because almost everything is replaceable nowadays. So that would be one thing I would say. And if you think you're going to have an ongoing problem with the tax exempt, you could create a tax exempt form too. Again, just being able to track this kind of behavior. And then if you do need to go to somebody's supervisor and say, hey, I'm taking away Susie Smith's card, for 6 months or a year or forever. This is why this is, and if you have it in policy and they've signed off on it, then you're not the bad guy. That's another thing too. And it does protect you in the business office too from following the procedure that's set forth by the auditors, especially because auditors will ding you for that.
Since no one else is talking, I'll just keep going.
Sure.
Do most Skyward users require P card users to attach the receipt digitally as they process the requisition?
I would say that most of the ones that require it also have approval trees set up. So that might be something else that you want to pursue. The approval tree allows to make sure that it goes through a couple levels and make sure that the receipt is legitimate. I say legitimate because I've actually had some school districts that have had problems with people just attaching a blank piece of paper because they don't have the receipt and they want to get away from doing it, or they've attached the wrong receipt. So this allows at least one other level of somebody else's eyes on it, Chris, before it gets to you. And then what we'd like to see you doing is high-level auditing to make sure that people are doing the right thing as opposed to doing data entry. So just be aware of that. Someone can attach something that's false. But I think it's a great place to keep everything. That's how it was designed. You can make a little electronic cache of the whole transaction.
Yep, no, I got it.
The PO, the receipt, the P card bill, everything, which is nice.
Yeah, and as we go into it, I'm familiar with the end user, but in the setup, it's new to me. So historically, we always, in my previous district, I would go in and I would edit it first because you have to go through the Skyward steps to edit it. So on that approval tree, I'm assuming the P card user is the first person because they need to edit it first, and then after that it follows what you're describing as the approval tree, correct?
Yep. So they would attach receipt, scan, attach receipt. They can attach it from a picture from their phone. I mean, so there's really no excuse. So easy. And then it would, once they hit submit, then that next level of approval will receive notice saying, hey, you have a requisition to approve. And that's how the approval tree would work. And I believe in Skyward, there can be 2 other levels. So 3 total, I believe. If you want to take advantage of them, you don't have to.
All right. I will let somebody else talk.
And Kelly, I apologize. I don't remember what district you're from off the top of my head. But she did note in the chat that they require the user to attach the receipt, add the budget code, and put in a description of the purchase. And then she goes through and double checks once they submit the transactions. So it sounds like Kelly's using some of those approvals as well.
She's from Fond du Lac.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. This is Kim from the Slinger School District. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do everything that Holly's described as far as approvals, and even with the tax exempt stuff, we do all of that. We have a log. Our staff know that we do not reimburse tax. If they submit a receipt or a invoice that has it, it's their responsibility to go back to the vendor and have it removed, or they have to reimburse us for it. As far as the approvals for the if they put in like an expense reimbursement or something, we do everything that was said as well. With the approval tree, we have the first person being our accounts payable specialist, because she goes in and double checks the account code and all of that. And once it's okay by her, then it goes to the principal and the superintendent after that for approval. So, and we didn't initially have accounts payable first. But as we went on, our principals and super don't always know all of the correct account codes, and we don't expect them to. So we decided to route it through that office first, just so that we know by the time it's finally approved, it is correct.
Nice.
It makes it really nice for the business office because you have that extra level. I've seen it, the second level be the principals at schools or the admin assistant, just making sure, things are approved, that things were in budget for that school, or, you can have somebody at your business office doing it. But it's a really nice way to kind of break down the work and make it easier on everybody. And I'd say I'm about 50-50 with people using it and people not. Anything else that anybody can think of that they have a question about, they're curious about, that they're having issues with? Kathy, there are some purchases that are not tax exempt, and I'm not positive if restaurant meals are that. I know that in Illinois they are tax exempt, and so we actually have to set up a tax exemption when we go in. So restaurants, if food purchases are tax exempt, all of those businesses are required to take the tax off. So someone's not probably telling the truth there. Though I can imagine a small restaurant or a family-owned restaurant, maybe, you go back a month later and they are not really cooperative. But you should make it very clear that when you give this card that you are required to ask for tax exemption, and set that up or request it before you actually purchase anything.
We do hear that often, that restaurants in general, if you go in as like a single person, you're going into Applebee's, for example, just for a restaurant name, typically a server will look at you like you have 6 heads. They're not sure what you're talking about, how to even do that. They may have to take the extra step of asking for management to assist and probably provide a copy of the tax exempt certificate. And
you will have to
typically
have the tax
leave
exempt
it.
certificate, yeah, because
Yeah,
they
you'll
have to
leave
note
it
it.
behind. But
Yeah. I have some districts that have actually done a really good job of having them laminated and actually good for travel, which is nice, made smaller, made card size. I also am a really big, anybody who takes their card with them when they go on the road, it's great if they have it in a little pouch or a little carrier that allows them to keep all the receipts in there. It's also great because then they can't take that card out and use it for personal use either. Keeping that card in a special place is very helpful.
yes.
And another thing I would suggest for conference goers is always set up a credit card authorization at your hotel so that that card is swiped once and not 5 times in a row, because that will shut your card down, even if you have a travel note on it usually, because that's just algorithms and that's all computers. And when the system gets hit really quick with the same amount from the same place at the same time, it usually just automatically flags it as fraud, and it'll shut the card down usually after the 3rd time. So if you set up a credit card authorization, this also allows you to put other parameters around the rooms. Like if you don't want them to have any food purchases, or if you don't want them to pay for parking on the card, or whatever kind of parameters or extra costs that there might be, you can set those up. And then it's paid for with one card, one swipe instead of all of those extra ones. Everybody's quiet today, huh? It's the beginning of school. Everybody's busy.
Yes. I know a few districts have started this week already for us. A couple last week, actually.
Well, you guys, we're always here. We're always happy to help. I knew where Kelly was from because Kelly and I have been talking about some stuff this week. So, I mean, I'm happy to chit chat with you, to try to troubleshoot with you, to help you in any way that you need it. And we'll have another one of these meetings in what, 3 months?
Yes, those dates will be posted on our website shortly, along with a recording from today. But if you have questions at any time in the interim, feel free to reach out to Holly or I. Call the WASBO office. If you can't remember our names, that's okay. Whoever answers the phone can always help too. Seeing as there are no discussion points in the chat or nobody's coming off mute again, if anyone has questions, please speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise,
And in
we
the
will see
future,
you
if you'd like
soon.
for us to talk about something specific, if you'd
Mhm.
like to see one of these presentations be more, like a Spend Dynamics 101, or if you have questions about reporting or something like that. The only thing that I can't really do is Skyward because I don't have access to Skyward and I don't work in Skyward. But I certainly can share really quickly how to do the things that you need to do in Spend Dynamics to get the Skyward file out. But other than that, and that's super easy and super simple, I always like to remind everyone that on our website, illinois-pcard.com, are all sorts of tutorials, super easy to follow tutorials. There's a Skyward handbook on the tutorial page, and under the resource guide, there's other policy booklets, policies that you can look at for P cards from other states as well. And remember too, I see Kimberly said she'd love a Spend Dynamics 101. I'm happy to do a Zoom meeting one-on-one with you and your staff as well. If you would like me to, just send me an email and let me know some dates and times that work for you. And we can do something one-on-one too.
Yes.
Anytime. You don't have to wait for one of these meetings.
Absolutely. But let's plan for that. Our next P card user group is November 18th at noon. Let's plan to do a little Spend Dynamics 101 on that date.
Sounds good to me.
Ooh,
Okay, great,
exciting for you,
Kimberly.
Kim.
Let me know.
All right, friends. Well, thank you so much. I hope to see many of you at our upcoming Money Talks webinar next Friday. And maybe a few of you even at First Year Academy and then the fall conference coming up fast. Have a great first couple weeks of school.